There's a story developing about the largest bank in China, which also happens to be the largest bank in the entire world, and a ransomware attack against them that happened late last night. This led to disruptions in the trading of US treasuries to the point where trades were being executed via a USB stick. Here's what CNBC said on the matter. The US Financial Services Division of Chinese bank ICBC was hit by a cyber attack that reportedly affected the trade of US treasuries. ICBC, the world's largest lender by assets, said Thursday its financial services arm experienced a ransomware attack that resulted in disruption to certain systems. We're going to dive into the details of this cyber attack, starting off with what exactly is ICBC, the world's largest lender by assets. Well, this is the industrial and commercial bank of China, and they are responsible for loaning money out for things like mortgages, personal loans, auto loans, etc. Now, the first interesting detail I want to point out here is that this cyber attack only impacted the ICBC financial services arm, but in particular, it was only the trading of US treasuries of all particular assets that were disrupted. Now, that is going to be one of the most traded assets, especially at this point in time with higher interest rates, but nonetheless, it's still a little bit suspicious. Once the hack was discovered, it's reported here that the government-owned bank in China isolated that particular arm of their business from other components that could potentially have a contagion effect, whereas those could also experience a breach. And this in particular is what led to the trading of US treasuries through ICBC financial services arm being executed manually via USB stick. There's definitely a lot to unpack here. I want to start off with some basics on what exactly is a ransomware attack. Well, this is when a hacker gains access to critical files that are needed to run a business or operation. They then encrypt those files or scramble them, and then they take the key or the decryption key, and they're going to tell the organization, you need to give me money or I'm not giving you the key. Now, whether or not the Chinese government paid off a ransom payment in order to decrypt those files, nobody knows for sure, and probably nobody will ever know, because it's not like the Chinese government is very forthcoming with this information anyway. However, there were clues left behind by the perpetrator. We'll get right into that, but first, a word from our sponsor. Did you know that creators earn an average of $37,000 annually on Kajabi compared to just $12,000 on YouTube and $60 on TikTok? Now you might be wondering, what's Kajabi? Well, it's none other than the creator commerce platform. Creators face fluctuating revenues and often struggle to make a living. Kajabi can help you launch your next webinar, online course, membership site, and more. On average, creators are collectively earning $5 million a day leveraging Kajabi. So why not join them? I think Kajabi is the best platform out there for diversifying your revenue streams as a creator. With Kajabi, you have 100% autonomy with free customizable templates that you can make your own, even if you're not tech savvy. Right now, Kajabi is offering a 30-day free trial to start your own business if you visit kajabi.com/Ryan. That's kajabi.com/RYAN. Visit kajabi.com/Ryan to earn more doing what you love. So what clues were left behind in this ransomware attack? Well, the first thing you need to understand is just how difficult it is to trace this type of thing back to an individual or a group. Simple tools like a VPN or virtual private network can be used by hackers to carry out nefarious activities anonymously. But this is a much higher level of sophistication here, and that's where we find our clue, the type of software used in this ransomware attack. According to multiple unverified sources, the software used to carry out the ransomware attack is called Lockbit 3.0. First of all, it's not your father's ransomware, and what I mean by that is it's nothing like we have seen in the past. Each unique variation of Lockbit 3.0 used has its own password protection that's controlled by the hacker themselves or the entire group. And that means without the password, it's nearly impossible for security researchers to get any details after the hack. These hackers simply visit forums anonymously, describe the type of software that they're looking for, and then Lockbit is going to curate that for them for a fee, of course. Here's how bad the impact has been from Lockbit. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Lockbit actors have executed over 1,400 attacks against victims in the United States and around the world, issuing over 100 million in ransom demands and receiving at least as much as tens of millions of dollars in actual ransom payments made in the form of Bitcoin. Of course, for this entire thing to work, it has to be hard to uncover details after the fact, and everything in between has to be anonymous, including the ransom payment. That is why this is such a dangerous type of cyber attack that is unfortunately very prevalent today. So what exactly is the takeaway here, and what can you do personally to protect yourself from ransomware attacks in day-to-day life? Here's what the president of a leading cybersecurity company, Check Point Software, said about this in a recent interview with CNBC.
Government in general represents right now the highest number of ransomware attacks. What we saw last quarter alone was that 1 in 25 organizations was attacked, and 90% of attacks are starting with phishing email. Why is that? Well, think about email. Email is actually the most vulnerable. It's the easiest way to get into your system. You've got access to email everywhere in your life, not just on your personal computer, but also on a mobile device and even on a wearable device. So it's just so pervasive and vulnerable to attack. If you think about governments around the world, they have access to broad citizen data. They are absolutely a target, and the biggest one there is.
Well, there you have it, folks. Email. Be darn careful of your emails. Let's finish up here with a quick PSA on what to watch out for with these phishing scams so that maybe together we can prevent the next ransomware attack. The first thing you want to watch out for is any texts or emails that you receive related to your financial accounts or utility accounts. Oftentimes, these criminals are going to mimic a financial institution or a utility service provider like an internet or cable provider and attempt to gather information from you. For example, Bank of America has about 68 million personal and business customers, and there's about 330 million people in the United States. So if somebody was to send a text or an email to a random person in the United States, it's about 1 in 5 odds that this is a Bank of America customer. Well, a scammer could send out a text that says something along the lines of, "You've been locked out of your Bank of America account. Click here to unlock your account." At that point, it will bring you to a page that looks nearly identical to the Bank of America login, where it prompts you to enter your login details and reset your password. Problem being is this is not Bank of America's website. Instead, the hacker takes your login, visits the actual Bank of America website, and then enters your bank account themselves. If you ever get texts or emails that look suspicious, first of all, do not open them because they can track who opens them, and if you do, you are likely to receive more. Second of all, if you have a legitimate concern, call customer service for the actual financial institution or provider being referenced in the alert. And those simple steps right there are how you avoid a phishing scheme, and that's how 90% of these major ransomware attacks are started. Anyways, guys, I hope I could shed some light on this overall situation for you regarding the largest bank in the world getting hacked. If there are new details that emerge, perhaps I may do a follow-up video. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell for future notifications. Another bank was taken over by the FDIC. We just did a full video on that. Click below to watch now, and I'll see you there.